Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another episode. In today's episode, we're out here back at home. All us Victorians are back under lockdown, so I thought it'd be a great opportunity to chat to you guys about some of those 1%ers when it comes to bream fishing. And the big one that we're going to talk about today is painting jig heads and DIY painting of jig heads. This is actually something that's come up on one of the Australian Kayak Hobie Facebook groups of late, and Richard Potter made a great call out and posted up a great photo of his painted jig heads, and it's a little video that I've been thinking about for quite a while now. So I'm just going to talk to you guys about why I think painting jig heads is important, why I think it does make a difference, and how I go about doing it. So it's as simple as getting a little Bic lighter. I personally love using this Tempt paint. I've only got the two colours, so I've got a motor oil gold and the orange UV, the fluoro colour there. And we'll talk about some of the different recipes that you can make with just a couple of simple colours. It's a lot of fun. Get the kids involved, and we'll just talk about why I think it makes a difference. Hope you enjoy the video. If you've got any questions about it, pop your comments or your questions down in the comments section down below, or reach out on social media as always. Anyway, hope you enjoy. Let's get stuck into it. First and foremost, why do I think this makes a difference? Personally speaking, I think any time that we as anglers can create a seamless representation of a bait fish or a yabby or a craw or a worm, anything that looks really realistic and really catches the fish's attention, I think is an absolutely fantastic thing. If anything, I think painting jig heads, I'll grab a couple that I've got here beside me. I've got a couple of traditional style data heads, TT and atomics, as well as all the way down to a hidden weight system head. So I've got quite a heavy one in about a 1/20th, all the way up to a 1/40th in that bright fluoro orange color. So why do I think it makes a difference, and why do I do it? The key reasons why I do it is really just to get as much attention on my lure and get that really glowing underwater. So the paints that I use are always UV. The paints that I mix up are always quite similar in color to the types and colors of plastics that I use. So you'll often see me using browns and greens and golds, and that's what I tend to go with in terms of my traditional out-of-the-box colors, so to speak, as well as the one that I've got mixed up here. So I always try and paint and match my jig heads to the plastics that I generally use. The other big thing, especially with the hidden weight system heads, I think these are fantastic when you're fishing small creature baits and small stick minnows, such as bass minnows, pro lures, anything that's got like that bait fish profile where you really want to run a light jig head. And any of those plastics that don't have any UV in the actual plastic, I think the addition of a UV color on the jig head is just going to add a bit of extra glow underwater and really catch that fish's attention. All right, we've chatted about why we use some of these paints, why we paint jig heads, why they're the little 1%ers that a lot of anglers do, especially those successful anglers. I think if anything, it doesn't decrease our catch rate, and it just makes me a bit more confident when I'm out there having a fish and presenting a lure. So in terms of the technique, the directions are on the jars as well if you are using the Tempt paint. But just quickly, I'll take you guys through some of the steps that I do. I keep all my jig heads. I've got a box for my brim and a slightly heavier box for my bigger jig heads for snapper and mulloway fishing. So I'll show you a few of those bigger ones. And you'll see in some of the cutaway videos that I'll probably end up doing, my painting skills have also, changed and varied and improved over the years as I've done this and perfected the recipe and the style that I like to do. All right, we're back inside now. Been a little bit quiet because I've got the little one down asleep, so this is the only opportunity I get to film these days, but I've got a little mic on now, so hopefully you guys can hear me pretty well. We'll come inside because with a Bic lighter, it just got a little bit too windy out there. So while I'm chatting now, I'm probably going to do a couple of overlays of the two jig heads that I just painted as I was doing a little DIY, little tutorial, having the camera pointing at the jig heads and the paints that I was using. So the first one is our motor oil gold. So that's the big 1/4 round snapper jig head. And then we've got our orange UV on the weedless jig head there on the decoy nail bomb, so you can see. And on in the video of the decoy, I used an old jig head just to punch out a hole in the eyelet as a little bit of the paint got stuck in there. So you just want to quickly punch out while it's still a bit warm so that you've got no issues running the line through that toe point. Okay, so those are the two. And then while I'm talking to you guys, I'll grab another jig head and we'll go through the process together. So let's go through and let's do another weedless one. So some of the reasons why I paint a bright orange jig head, for example. So not only will this match some of those new plastics that are coming out and some of those orange colors, you know, those craw style colors or yabbies, but the orange glow will be fantastic in really dirty water. So after we've had a bit of rain, give these a go. These are really going to, glow underwater and really get that fish's attention. So those are the times that I'll be using the bright oranges. And then the motor oil golds and the greens and the little browns that I've been painting up with my little mix, I'll be using as my everyday stock standard. So let's go through it again. So the process that I personally use is I lightly heat the lead for a couple of seconds. Now if you heat it for too long, that lead is going to fall off the shank of the hook. Dunk it straight in. This is what it starting to look like already. It's already got a nice shine to it. And then we just reset that paint. So as you can see, that eyelet hole has closed up again on this one. It's quite a small hole. So all we do is just take an old jig head, just twist it both sides. Now this is personally what I do. It's not to say it's the right way or wrong way, but there's no right or wrong. It's all about just having a bit of fun and working out what works best for you. But this way I get a nice clean toe point where I can then tie my line to. And there's the finished product. So it's got a nice shine to it. We've got the gold flecks throughout that paint. There is a step that a lot of guys do, something that I personally don't. They put them in the oven to cure, to harden for about 15-20 minutes on a very low temperature. It's a step that I don't think is necessary for me. So it's one that I personally don't do. So I haven't had an opportunity to test whether the brittleness of that paint, whether it becomes a lot harder if you do that extra curing step in the oven. For me personally, I think they wear just fine, given the type of fishing and the structure that I throw these into and the types of fish and the big teeth that they have. I think they wear really well. And the great thing is you can just chip the paint off, do the process once again and repaint them when you're unhappy or for whatever reason, get rid of your old jig heads which have blunt hooks and then start the process all over again. Alrighty, and just finally, let's talk about mixing paints or mixing powders. So the temp range is quite varied. So we've got a number of different colors, and what that means is we've got a huge variation of colors that we as anglers can create, which is fantastic and a lot of fun for those of us with kids old enough, start having a play around with different colors, start mixing stuff. So as a very high level or a very general sort of recipe in terms of the color that I've made up here is it's 2 parts motor oil gold and 1 part orange UV, which ends up making the sort of brown color that you see there on the jig heads. I found that works quite well for me, but again, it's all personal preference. There's absolutely no right or wrong, but grab a Tupperware container or an old one, grab a teaspoon or a big tablespoon and just start having a play around with different ratios, different mixtures, and see what kind of colors you can come up with. Well, that's it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. As we said at the start, this is one of those 1%ers that a lot of anglers are really starting to do to improve their catch rates, to really improve and maximize the visibility of their natural presentations underwater, especially for fish such as brim and bass. A lot of the bass guys, a lot of the comments in that particular post of Richard's, you know, a lot of the guys are really saying that they don't go bass fishing without a painted jig head. They really believe that it makes that much of a difference. So it's quite a crucial one. Doesn't take long. It's not going to harm your catch rate. Have a lot of fun with it. You know, get into the kitchen, get into the garage and have a play with some different colors. Try it out on the water. I'm sure you'll absolutely love it. And hopefully your catch rates improve as well. Anyway, that's it for this one. I'll see you guys in the next episode. Cheers.